Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't watched my last video, we discussed about how humans could potentially colonize Mars by building underground cities and utilizing hydroponics in order to grow our own food. If you remember from last time, I told you that Mars is actually a very cold place. The average surface temperature on Mars is negative 55 degrees Celsius. I don't know about you, but I could barely survive Canberra's winters. I don't think I last more than a few days with Martian-like climate. So I thought for today, I'll choose a warmer planet in our solar system for us to go visit. Like this one. Yep, okay, this one's actually a bit too hot. Actually, let's choose another one. This one. Okay, this one has potential, I think. Now, let's get some basic facts about Venus out of the way. Number 1, due to the slow rotation of its axis, 1 day on Venus equals 243 days on Earth. Can you imagine having to wait for the weekend to come on Venus? Yikes. Number 2, Venus is Earth-sized. Well, kind of. In fact, there is only a 638 kilometer difference in diameter between the two planets. And Venus has around 81% of Earth's mass. They are also similarly located, with Venus being the closest planet to Earth. Both planets also have a central core, a molten mantle, and a crust. Number 3, Venus is the second brightest natural object in the sky. The planet has an apparent magnitude of negative 3.8 to negative 4.6, which makes it visible on a bright, clear day. The moon is the only other natural object that is brighter. So why should humans colonize Venus? Well, like I mentioned before, Venus is the closest planet to Earth. When the planet is inland with Earth and the Sun, the average distance to Venus from Earth is 41 million kilometers. This distance can make it less costly to send humans to Venus, as it would be easier for us to move people and necessary equipment. Additionally, unlike Mars, the atmosphere of Venus is much stronger. This could help shield us from space radiation and incoming meteorites. Moreover, the atmosphere is mainly made up of carbon dioxide, which, in principle, we could extract oxygen from. Finally, the surface gravity of Venus is almost the same as the surface gravity on Earth. The gravity on Venus is 8.87 meters per second squared, while the gravity on Earth is 9.807 meters per second squared. So essentially, the surface gravity on Venus is about 91% of the surface gravity on Earth. So, for example, if you weighed 100 kilograms on Earth, you'd weigh about 91 kilograms on Venus. I've left a fun site in the description below that lets you see how much you'd weigh on different planets. Let me just say that I would probably be blown away by the wind if I lived in Pluto. Okay, so besides the fluctuation of our weights, why is this so important? Well, if we're going to colonize a planet and stay there for a significant amount of time, it's important that the planet has an appropriate average level of gravity. In the absence of gravity, there is no weight load on the back and leg muscles, so they begin to weaken and shrink. In the long term, this could cause the loss of bone and muscle mass. While there are ways to alter a planet's environment in order to suit us better, such as utilizing hydroponics in the face of toxic soil, altering a planet's surface gravity would almost be impossible to do with the current technology we have so far. Okay, well, so far, Venus has a lot of pros relative to Mars. It has a thick atmosphere that could protect us from space radiation, it has a closer distance to Earth, and a more Earth-like gravity level. So, how come Mars keeps getting all the attention when it comes to planetary colonization? I mean, so far, Venus seems like the more logical option, right? Well, I forgot to mention one thing. Venus is literally the hottest planet in our solar system. Yep. The surface temperature can reach up to 464 degrees Celsius. Remember Venus's thick atmosphere? Well, carbon dioxide makes up the bulk of the planet's atmospheric gases, thus acting as a blanket that keeps heat from escaping the planet. Moreover, the atmospheric pressure on the surface of Venus is over 90 Earth's atmospheres. The weight of Venus' atmosphere would crush humans. Okay, so then what's the point? If we can't even land on the surface of Venus, how in the world are we going to live on the planet? Well, what if we just float? Okay, now before you click off the video, hear me out. About 50 kilometers above the surface of Venus, the planet is remarkably Earth-like. The average temperature can drop to about 70 degrees Celsius. This is still really hot, but firefighting equipment can withstand fires that reach over 1000 degrees Celsius. Additionally, the pressure of the altitude also drops to a comfortable 1 bar. This would mean that we could probably go about with an oxygen tank and heat-resistant clothing, but not necessarily spacesuits. Combined with Venus's gravity, the upper atmosphere of the planet might be the closest thing in the solar system to an Earth-like environment. So, back to the floating thing. Because we can't land on the surface of Venus, we could just float and live on the planet's upper atmosphere. How, you ask? Cloud cities. NASA has actually announced a conceptual blueprint for this scheme called the High Altitude Venus Operational Concept, or HAVOC for short. Now, this is still very conceptual and we are still very far from making this idea a reality. However, NASA is taking this very seriously. With cloud cities, we could first start with an enclosed dome that is filled with oxygen. With this, we could eliminate the need to carry around oxygen tanks. Eventually, we could maybe see full-scale cities in this dome floating around the skies of Venus. Since the atmosphere is relatively dense with carbon dioxide, it would be easy to grow our own food. After filtering out the sulfuric acid in the clouds, of course, I don't think I mentioned that. As these cities would be hovering near the top of Venus's cloud layer, this would make it easier for us to reap plenty of sunlight for solar energy. However, it's not always rainbows and sunshines up in the skies. Even though in theory we could extract water from the atmosphere, it would be fairly difficult as we need to filter out the sulfuric acid floating around in the clouds. We can consider importing water from Earth. That, however, would be a costly process. Ultimately, if we really want to thrive on Venus and make the planet more comfortable, we would have to resort to terraforming the planet, something that is currently not very easy to do. Our main objectives would probably be to reduce the scorching temperature of Venus to something more hospitable. We would also need to convert the very dense carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to make it more human-friendly. Finally, since the day in Venus lasts so long, we would need to find a way to establish a day-night cycle similar to that of Earth's. Well, that's all I got for today. What do you think? Are you Team Venus or Team Mars? Or maybe even Team Earth? Let me know in the comments below or reach me via Instagram or Twitter. See you in my next video!